Good morning, everybody. I believe we are broadcasting live. So we'll open this committee of conference on Senate Bill 154 as the first named. I will call it to order. If we could just go around the room and introduce everybody, that would be great.
Scott Wallace, Representative, Rockingham 12, Danville.
Morning, Representative Darrell Abbas, representing Rockingham County District 8.
And Jeb Bradley from Wolfboro. So we have what I hope is a compromise consensus amendment, 1982, authored by Representative Lynn. Representative, do you want to walk us through it?
Sure. So let me get first with section 2, which is I think the most significant change. It adds language which I think Representative. Oh, I'm sorry. It adds language which I think Representative Abbas would say, and probably correctly, might be implied. Even if this wasn't present, but I think it's important to have it specifically stated. And that is the first sentence of section 2 specifically states that nothing in the prohibition that is in section 1 is intended to cover a situation where even if somebody has committed or is being investigated for having allegedly committed a federal offense that would be covered by the prohibition of state assistance that's stated in section 1. If there's reasonable suspicion to believe that that person has committed some other federal offense that's not covered by section 1 or has committed a state offense, then there would be no prohibition on cooperation or providing assistance by state authorities. And then the second sentence of section 2 specifically states that the prohibition also doesn't cover state officials providing federal officials upon their request with either publicly available records or criminal history records in the first category, and in the second category from taking any action necessary to comply with the state's obligations under the National Crime Prevention and Privacy Compact, which we enacted in RSA 106B14(3). The other amendment in section 1 under this draft, under section 1, adds language stating that the prohibition that is stated in section 1 applies with respect to federal firearms laws, that is an act, a rule, a regulation, presidential executive order, etc., that was enacted, promulgated, or takes effect after January 20th, 2021. That was not in the original House version of the amendment. So that's
Okay. Are there any questions of Representative Lynn? Yeah, good morning, Representative Abbas.
Cooperative efforts.
Oh, I'm sorry. I should have said that. I thought it was obvious. And unless the microphone is on, people who are watching on Zoom or YouTube can't hear us. So sorry about that.
My apologies. And I'll just start over. In respect to the National Crime Prevention and Privacy Compact, as well as the cooperative efforts with local and federal law enforcement officers involving the investigation of or enforcement of other crimes unrelated to the restriction of firearms, That was the original intent of the amendment that we passed in the House. So those changes would not frustrate that purpose. I believe even when I was speaking on the floor in the House, that I said that. So obviously, those two sections are not in conflict. The only conflict would be the date specific, the January 20th, 2021 date. That's not in what the House passed. And when I prepared the amendment that we eventually passed in the House, the reason why that date was removed was that we expanded it beyond the point of just executive orders. At that date specific had a purpose when just related to executive orders. I didn't feel that it was appropriate to leave it in. And if we're going to expand it, I would suggest leaving the date in there would not be the best way to go.
So my understanding, Representative Abbas, Representative Lynn, is that you have worked with Attorney General Formella on this language. I'm told he is supportive of it by the governor's staff who is here. Is that correct?
There was joint communications with a lot of interest groups, including the Attorney General. I do know that it was preferred to leave the date in. The fear was unintended consequences. I would think in respect to the unintended consequences, given the experience of the members in here today and the legal backgrounds, that if there were more consequences, I would thought those would have been identified. To go through every RSA, I'm just pointing out that I don't think we would have the.
Certainly, from my point of view, and I'll let the other senators weigh in. When the Senate passed this, it was only executive orders. You and, excuse me, Representative Abbas, you and I had conversations as this was in front of your committee about expanding it to all of the other criteria. I think a pretty reasonable line of demarcation is the date of January 2021 for exactly the reasons you outlined. And I could support it. I'd look to my colleagues for their input. Senator Carson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning, representatives. When we had this bill in Senate Judiciary, the chairman is correct. It only dealt with executive orders. It did not include any kind of federal statutes or regulations. So I understand what the House did and why the House did it. I feel comfortable with keeping that January 20th, 2021 date in there. I think that that's appropriate. So I would agree with the chair.
Senator Prentice.
Thank you, Senator Bradley, and colleagues from the House. I voted against this underlying bill in the Senate, and I voted against it because I don't believe we should be picking and choosing what executive orders we are going to abide by and we're not going to abide by. I believe this is precedent setting. So that, I start from that point, and I'm not sure that I can advance or agree to anything that would allow for this. This opens a door. So this to me isn't about the Second Amendment. This is about picking and choosing what we will and will not agree to. I've also served as a local official and have felt that kind of pressure there too. So I don't know how you want to proceed. I'm willing to continue on in the discussion, but I have a problem with the underlying premise here.
Yeah,
Respectfully, Senator.
No, I appreciate that. I kind of thought that would be the case generally in a committee of conference. As long as a majority of the senators on the committee of conference agree, or in the case of a divided House members, as long as the majority of the House members agree, the position is clear. And as long as you're comfortable, I think Senator Morris would be happy to replace you when the time comes.
Okay.
Thank you. All right. Any further questions, discussion? All right, is there a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion to adopt Amendment 1982H.
Okay, is it seconded? All right, for discussion purposes, I'll second it. All right, Representative Abbas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And what I would just, again, emphasize with the date is that the House position was not to have the date as we expanded it from executive orders to apply to all federal laws. We found that the date specific was not appropriate, and we would agree with that. I'm not saying that the date is, it's egregious to have it in there, but I think over time, as federal laws are amended or changed, it could become more problematic over time. It may make sense now today to have a date in, but 20 years from now, it could be the opposite. So just something to think about.
Mhm.
Senator Carson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think this is a good opportunity to have a discussion because you've made some changes and we've made some changes as well. And I think there's some room to compromise. I think by having that date in there, we're looking at this date specific going forward. So anytime a federal regulation that's already in existence today gets amended, it would affect that as we move forward. And it's the same thing with any kind of a regulation or rule. I think we know, if you've ever served on JELCAR, the stacks of rules. And most of us really have no clue what those rules actually are about how these different agencies operate. And to have the statutes, regulations, and executive orders, I think is encompassing. It brings everything together. But I think having a date specific here puts everyone on notice. It's that anything that changes with any kind of firearm statute, regulation, or executive order as of, excuse me, January 20th, they're on notice that we're watching. And if, excuse me, we don't feel that it matches this, we're just not going to do it. It's just a point. It's a point to start. And we have many old regulations on our books, federal laws anyway. And they're changed. They're subject to change and they always change. But if that change happens after January 20th, they're going to be affected. So I think that it's important that there is a date. So I think it's a point of compromise. And again, when we had it, we did not have the statutes and regulations. We only had the executive orders. And I think at this point, our side is willing to say, okay, we will include statutes and regulations, but hopefully you can, your side can meet us on the date.
Further discussion? Okay, all the senators in favor of Amendment 1982, raise your hand. Okay, the Senate votes 2-1 in favor of the amendment. House members?
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman. Do you mind if the House members, if we can just have a break for about 5 minutes?
Okay.
Be in recess. Thank you.
Okay, I will resume from the recess of the Committee of Conference on Senate Bill 154. We're in the voting mode. The Senate voted to support Amendment 1982, and Representative Abbas asked for recess, so we're back. Representative Abbas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I understand we're in the voting mode, but am I permitted to make a comment? at this time?
Yes, you may.
Thank you. So I already stated that adding the January 20th to 2021 date was not the House position, in part because it was, at least my opinion, that it would be unusual to reference a date like that, considering it was the inauguration date. So it was not the preference, but at the same time, there is compromise in what is being presented now. And in the spirit of compromise, we would we would agree with the amendment being put forward.
Okay, so that means the House votes for the amendment. Is that correct? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, I will prepare the report. Thank you very much, especially Representative Lynn and Abbas, who I know spent a lot of time, not only on this amendment, but on the bill. As it was in your committee, I think the Senate appreciates the hard work that Representative Abbas, you did, and certainly thanks Justice Representative Lynn and the other conferees. So in the spirit of compromise, we're a happy group. So I'll prepare the report, and unless there's anything else, we'll accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Okay, great. Thank you all very much.
Yeah, let's talk. We got a busy morning. It's good to see you. Are you having fun yet?
It's very interesting.